listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
You magnificent bastard, I read your book.
I drink your milkshake.
How dare you?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Captain.
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 Captain. Captain.
No, not yet. Don't pass out of me yet. Of course you realize this means war.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of
bubblegum. I'm out. Tuesday night, May 19th, the year of our Lord 2020. I'm BC. This is my Saloon. And you're in BC's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, the radio show. One each. Right here. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, always spelled with a K, a mere 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast of Bill Mill, the belly of the beast. The Capitol building in downtown Sacramento at 10th and L Streets, where late at night you can hear the death of common sense in its concomitant wail as it wafts from that petrifying edifice, and late at night, when I exit the plush, resplendent, sumptuous, palatial, and effulgently bulbous SHR Media Studios, I'll be smelling the odoriferous stench of sulfur, brimstone, and evil emanating from that mentally destitute column structure aforementioned. What you're about to hear for the next 2 hours consists of my opinion, and my opinion only. Because of the fear porn that has gripped this nation, the saloon is no longer open in the front, as the city of Sacramento has pulled my license, but I'm still serving stiff drinks, facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, intent, and common sense out the back door. And I gotta tell you this, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law, we talk about it all right here at the saloon, but the speech is free, but the booze is not. In 2020, I am done with compromise and any bipartisanship. This is the new age of modern political warfare. The leftist Democrats and American media maggots all want you dead. Or at the very minimum, they want you jobless, bankrupt, bereft of a future, and quivering in the fetal position under your desks, waiting for your local leftist governors and mayors to bestow a modicum of freedom in dribs and drabs when it pleases them. Also, to be taken away when it pleases them, or when you have the temerity to push back or reoffend. If our rights don't prevail, folks, we have absolutely lost this nation. And it won't be coming back. If we lose freedom here in the United States of America, my fundamental question is, okay, where do you go for freedom then? Where do you find it around the planet? Tonight in the Saloon, we're going to have Jeff Dunitz for the first hour. He is returning. And in the second hour, oh my God, Happy Stories are making a return. Can it be possibly that things are turning around just a little bit? Then I'm going to tell you why California continues to be insane. And of course, I'm trying to get out of here. I already have my new radio chosen, because I got to tell you, I want to either go to Idaho, Wyoming, or Montana. Number one, they are free states. Number two, many of them are open carry. And number three, it's cooler. Number four, there's more water. And for example, if I go to Idaho, it's going to be called RFI, Radio Free Idaho. The Saloon will bite the dust when I leave California. I always spell it with a K. Here's someone that's not in California. It's Jeff Dunitz. Jeff Dunitz, where do you live?
I live on the East Coast, the People's Republic of New York.
Ah, the PRNY.
Emperor Cuomo's Long Island.
That is, let's see, how many boroughs are there in New York? 5?
5 in the city. I'm in the suburbs.
Ah, you're in the burbs, the burbs. So,
and you know what? Governor Cuomo really let people know his true feelings yesterday. When he said, if old people die, they die.
We're going to get to that.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's fine. Folks, this is Jeff Dunitz. If you haven't heard him before, and if you listen to this show, you have definitely heard him before. Jeff lost an aunt. Oh, that's a good question. Do you pronounce it aunt or aunt, Jeff?
Aunt.
Aunt, okay.
On Long Island, we pronounce it aunt.
Okay. You lost an aunt to Wuhan-19, and I would suspect...
it wasn't from what Cuomo did.
Okay. Well, yes, because she wasn't in a skilled nursing facility or a nursing facility.
Right.
So, number one, right. I would be pissed if I lost someone due to what China did.
I'm pissed anyway.
But to lose someone from that and then make it worse, obviously I'm a political animal. You're a political animal. One of the things that I do not understand, Jeff Dunitz, is why, or maybe I'm just not hearing it, because maybe it's more localized. Maybe it's more in New York, and that's why I am glad that you're here tonight, because I'm going to ask you about this. I'm not in New York. I'm on the far left coast. And,
right.
And what Cuomo did, New York Governor Cuomo did, lights me up to 210 over 190. Why aren't people screaming about this? That literally not just 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people died behind what New York Governor Cuomo did. That was his action directly that caused the deaths. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and Jeff, perhaps you can set me correct, my understanding is that it's close to 2,000 deaths, if it hasn't already.
No. I believe it's close to 6,000 deaths.
Okay, give me a second to process that. I was about to go over the top for 2,000 deaths.
Wait a second. I'm just double checking myself, but that's what last time I looked it up.
Okay. And here's why. This is, folks who may not know, what occurred is that Governor Andrew Cuomo in the state of New York decreed that Wuhan-19 patients were going to be installed in nursing facilities in the state of New York.
Yep.
And then he received pushback.
shouldn't take them. It's only the nursing homes.
He received pushback and then doubled down on that edict.
You bet.
I'm curious, Jeff Dunitz, did you find anything about died
I know it's
behind
got
this?
to be much more than 2,000 because it was 1,000 just on Long Island.
Okay.
But I am looking it up. I found a chart, but I got to then put it on Excel.
Okay. As you're peeking around, though, let me tell folks about this, a little bit about you while you're looking. The reason I like to have Jeff on the show, folks, is because Jeff is in an area that's far away from me, and I use him as a bellwether to tell me what's happening in the northeast of the United States, coupled with the fact that Jeff is just an all-around great guy. And if you want to find out what's happening around the United States with a little bit of a conservative bent in terms of these are things you're definitely not going to be hearing from what I call the American media maggots, go to his blog, lidblog.com, lid, L-I-D, blog, B-L-O-G.com. And he posts probably 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a day. It's a very active blog, and I want to talk about a number of the posts that he has tonight. One of them in particular, I find it illuminating and egregious.
You ready for your blood pressure to go crazy?
Okay.
As of 2 days ago, on Sunday, the nursing home COVID death toll in New York was 5,601.
To me, that sounds like 5,000 plus lawsuits aimed at 2 venues. Number 1 should be the state of New York, because you're going for the deep pockets. Because your loved ones were targeted. Folks, they were targeted. Venue, I would go after Andrew Cuomo personally. This is an individual who, number one, folks, here's why. I mean, this is so far away from me. This is 3,000 miles away from me. And it's insane. Individuals dead because one person decided to put folks with what they acknowledged is a viral infection and installed doctors, and installed people like this in communities, not of the strongest people in the United States, but the absolute very weakest people in the United States. Now, I have been any number of times in nursing homes, specifically, I always spell it with a K, because my grandmother went into a nursing home, my father went into a nursing home 5 times, beat it, and came out, except for the last one. So I have a lot of experience in nursing homes. And what I experienced was this. My guess would be that this is endemic all across the United States. And I'm not pointing fingers necessarily. I'm just telling you what my experience was, just because. They're filled with people doing a very tough job, not getting paid a lot of money. If you think that there is a doctor in a nursing home there 24/7, you would be so sorely wrong. At the best,
money.
You may get an RN who drops in. A lot of other people are LVNs and all the other labels that are in there. They're not paid a whole lot of money. And what you did is you installed people with a rampant virus into an environment of people in the weakest condition and state of their lives in areas that have personnel with essentially the least amount of pay, the least amount of training, the least amount of equipment, the least amount of knowledge, and the least access to true doctors and information. That's the environment into which you've installed people who are already infected with Wuhan 19. This is beyond despicable.
And I just want to emphasize something you said because it's important. It's not the fault of the people who work in the nursing homes.
No, they're not prepared.
They're not prepared for this.
No one gave them. What moron would take people riddled with a disease, an infection, and install them into a nursing facility environment? Who would do that?
Well, yeah, but you know what the real problem is, and I told you this last week. The two Cuomo brothers share one brain. So,
yeah.
he might have made the decision when Chris had the brain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I want to get, there's a bunch of stuff that has occurred. And you've written a whole bunch of things, and I want to get to them tonight.
Okay.
One of the things that I do want to go to, though, is, because I have some audio cuts, is I want to lead up to New York and Cuomo. New York is insane. Folks, if you thought California was insane, the only thing that I can say is, and again, as I said at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it now because I'm going to have to, this is my opinion. Cuomo is a killer. He knew exactly what he was doing, and apparently doesn't have the common sense that God gave a ficus. If he couldn't figure out, and I'm sure he was told by any number of people, do not place people infected with Wuhan 19 into nursing homes. You're going to kill the elderly, the people with the least ability to fight back. Already we know that New York, in the middle of New York's unused hospital beds. So who was crying for all these hospital beds and all these ventilators? Cuomo was. There was massive waste and mismanagement. So President Trump sent him a ship. Didn't need the ship. Built more emergency hospitals. Didn't need the hospitals. New York has had the bulk of infections and deaths. I will be the first to admit it. But they hoarded medical supplies, spent millions on equipment that never got there. Like I mentioned, all the unused hospitals and the beds. And finally, people are starting to ask, thank God, do you think that maybe something went wrong? Oh, and the other thing that they did is they decided it would be a great idea to release a whole bunch of inmates from Rikers Island. And now we know that dozens and dozens of Rikers inmates were arrested again after their lovely little coronavirus release.
Yeah, but it's not just inmates. Some of them were sexual predators, rapists, and child molesters.
Well, because, it's like hashtag because why not?
Right.
I want to remind somebody else of this. Oh, and I'm sorry. I forgot my manners. Welcome to the Alaskan in chat at SHR, Jack in chat at SHR, and of course, Jeff here in chat at SHR. Anybody remember back on the 22nd when Andrew Cuomo said, you know what? I know what our jobs are, but this is not one of them. Our job is not to provide PPE, personal protective equipment, to nursing homes. Despite the fact that that's where he installed the most infectious people known to the state of New York at the time. He said, it isn't our job to provide coronavirus-ravaged nursing homes with personal protective equipment. He didn't say that about ravaged, but he did say it's not our job to do that. Well, do you think it's the federal government? That the federal government is a first responder? Well, I have an audio cut. Let's see if we can get through to Governor Cuomo and see if he's going to tell us anything.
The ownership of the nursing facility. No. No, they're not a state-run entity. That's what I'm trying to say. I know there's a thought a nursing home is run by the state. It's a wrong thought. Facts. The private entity runs it. We regulate the private entity. If the private entity is not performing their duty as they should be, then the state takes action versus the private entity. You can lose your license. You'll be out of business. If you're not providing your staff with the right equipment, you're out of business. That we can do. See, for the state, the question should be, we have been helping them with more PPE, but again, it's not our job.
Can you think of anything more haughty and dismissive than something like that?
Well, let me interject something, okay? It's another difference between us and the Democrats, okay, or the liberals. We were taught to respect older people because you know what? And it's a real selfish thing because you know what? They have a lot of knowledge that they share with us. Okay. The liberals were taught they just get in the way of the young people. And I think that's part of it also. I mean, I don't know about you, but anytime I was disrespectful to an old person when I was growing up, I got a smack across my face.
You bet I did. Also.
Okay. And really, it wasn't until I got a little older that I realized it's like they have so much to impart, so much to teach. Except the liberals don't care. To them, they're in the way of the young people. It's like the death squads of Obamacare. They're just in the way. They cost too much money.
Well, their days of producing, as far as they're concerned, are over. They're a draw. Yeah. They're a draw on society. Then,
well, I would pay anything to have my parents back. You know.
Oh my God, yes, and
okay.
Mine as well. But wait, as I am fond of saying, but wait, there's more. Despite doing this, Cuomo came out on Sunday and said that, well, for the nursing home deaths, nobody should be prosecuted for that. For none of the deaths, and certainly specific for nothing in the nursery homes, well, that can't be his fault.
Yeah, the comment is this, and I have those conversations all day long with people who have lost people, right?
Listen.
We lost 139 people yesterday in hospitals. Who is accountable for those 139 deaths? Well, how do we get justice for those families who had 139 deaths? What is justice? Who can we prosecute for those deaths? Nobody. Nobody. Mother Nature, God, where did this virus come from? People are going to die by this virus. That is the truth. Best hospital system on the globe, I believe we have. Best doctors, best nurses who have responded like heroes. Every medication, ventilators, the health system wants for nothing. We worked it out so we always had available beds. Nobody was deprived of a bed or medical coverage in any way. And still people died. Still people died. Older people, vulnerable people.
Listen to this.
Are going to die from this virus. That is going to happen. Despite whatever you do.
Okay, stop just for a second. If he's saying that now, do you think the light bulb came on just Sunday night over his head and he finally realized, some people did die in a nursing home? No.
Well, yeah, but in New York here, there has been a pushback. Okay, and people have been complaining that if he let them stay in hospitals or go to hospitals, a lot of them might not have died. Okay? And that was really it. He, yes, a lot of old people will die. But if you allowed them to go to hospitals instead of being forced to go to nursing homes where the care won't be as good because they're not prepared for it, more will die. And I don't know if he's not willing to accept that or he's had the pressure for the last 3 weeks and he's just BSing his way out of it.
What do you think, folks, would happen if a Republican governor said something as casually dismissive as this, acknowledging full well, as he did, he knows people are going to die behind this virus, and essentially he said, folks, cover your children's ears. He doesn't give one fuck about your elderly loved ones. They die. Oh, fucking well. Move on. Nothing to see here. No one is responsible, least of all me. That's God's work.
Well, let me tell you, that's an easy thing to visualize. You ever see the movie Frankenstein?
Yes.
When all the villagers come with pitchforks and torches?
Yes.
If a Republican did that, that's what would happen.
Well, that deserves this. Exactly. That is exactly what would have happened. And yet, he got to double down on, don't question me. I'm putting more Wuhan 19 patients into nursing homes. I want a timeline. I want somebody that's an investigator to put together a timeline of what did Cuomo know and when did he know it. Already recognizing that people in nursing homes are the weakest possible. Did he, and I want to know, and I'm not even in New York, I shouldn't particularly care, except I do, because I feel a particular, I've been to nursing homes. I'll shoot myself in the head before I go to one myself, but I know what they're like. Some are okay. Some are fairly. Some are despicable. Some have 12 to 15 people, bed by bed by bed, in a room. Seen it with my own eyes. And this guy is going to be that dismissive to this kind of a situation?
Because with all our progress as a society, we can't keep everyone alive, despite everything you do. And older people are more vulnerable.
Oh, folks, save that sound bite right there. That is what we call, in criminal law, we call that malice aforethought, meaning this fuckstick knew exactly what he was doing when he placed people with a massive, rampant, global pandemic infection into facilities with the weakest people possible. This is malice aforethought. This wasn't at the last moment I got really emotional and decided I had to put people in there. This was he knew exactly what he was doing. And my guess would be also, at the time, he had options. Many, many damned options, including a 1,000-foot fucking ship. And he had numerous hospitals that Trump built for him. The military built these hospitals for him. I am so pissed off. 5,000 people dead unnecessarily.
You want to get worse?
This is the United States of America. I got to go to a break. I'm sorry, Jeff. I got to go to a break. I'm going to have to take some oxygen. I'm not kidding. This is America. How does this shit happen in America?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you bellows as host, and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific, on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York. The Lid himself, Jeff Dunnett. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunnett.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Good evening. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is featured on the SHR Media Network every Tuesday and Thursday night for 2 hours at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. Whilst manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ continues to radically change the world of leftists, one diaper at a time. Stop balancing your checkbooks. Stop cleaning your fish tanks. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is your magnet for truth, justice, obesity, a darkened studio, and late-night freedom. No United States of America freedoms were abridged in the making of this ad.
This is Shannon Wright.
And this is Michael Wright.
Reminding you to listen
to The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Every Monday through Thursday.
7 to 9 a.m.
Right here on shrmedia.com.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense Elite Radio Show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for airtimes. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On ADL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty void in Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show tonight. The guest here is Jeff Dunnett. Thanks for...
Oh, cool. I like that guy.
I like that guy, too. Thanks for watching on Facebook Live. Thanks for watching on YouTube Live and at shrmedia.com. And thanks for being in chat in both places. Also, if you are on Facebook and you want a great supporter, a great group that supports the Second Amendment, First Amendment, Bill of Rights, all of that, and firearms, I highly recommend the USGOA, which is the U.S. Gun Owners Association, run by Fred Wetzel. Great place to go. USGOA, U.S. Gun Owners Association, on Facebook. Not getting any money from them, just like them, just think they're a great bunch of people. Jeff Dunitz, you are here tonight. He is the owner of lidblog.com, lidblog, lidblog.com, lidblog.com. Go there for great viewpoints on any number of things political. Jeff, tonight you have an article. Well, actually, I think this came out yesterday. But I think this article is the point to make about everything, and points to me to how anything and everything with Mueller, with General Flynn, was all a setup. It was a perjury trap. This was, as I said in 2017, that's 3 years I've been saying this. This was a soft coup against a presidential nominee, a soft coup against a president-elect and a sitting president. Your article just came out, and how many people, another thing, how many people seem to care? You wrote 80% of the unmasking Flynn requests were made before the Kislyak phone call. And a lot of people who are stupid are going to say, well, that doesn't make it. Who cares? Just more Russian, except for Donald Trump and the entire political life of the entire United States has been turned upside down for the past 4 years because of this. And the predicate being, we have to find out what and why General Flynn is a supporter of Russia. Russia collusion. That's why we have to investigate General Michael Flynn and ruin his life and make him go bankrupt and screw up his family and threaten his kid. Don't forget, threaten his son.
And he had to sell his house.
And
to
yes,
pay the legal bills.
Exactly.
And this is a man who served this country in the military for over 3 decades. A hero.
Served well, served loyally, served truthfully.
Right. And actually, Flynn spoke to Kislyak twice. Okay? The first time, it was the day before Obama was going to screw Israel in the UN. And he wanted Russia to see if Russia would consider vetoing it because Obama was going to abstain. That was the first time. And then the second time is the big one. Well, what they think is the big one, which is when they talked about sanctions, the Russian sanctions.
Right.
Okay. 86% of the calls were made before the Russian sanctions phone call. And, okay, that was 12/28. The next week, okay, was that famous Obama and National Security Team meeting in the Oval Office when they talked about Flynn and the dossier. Okay, they were out to get him. And you have to understand something. The Obama administration already hated Flynn. Because Flynn used to be in charge of the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yep.
And he didn't think that Obama had the terrorists on the run.
Right. Obama said that he had Al-Qaeda on the run.
Right. And Flynn warned that there was another group starting in Syria that might be worse than Al-Qaeda. Turned out to be ISIS. You ever hear of that?
Right.
And it pissed off Obama. So he fired. Well, he pushed him out. He didn't fire him. Well, but he pushed him out of the military. So they had it in for the guy before he started working for Trump. And remember, when Obama met with Trump after he won during the transition, he told Trump two things. Beware of North Korea and beware of Flynn.
Yeah, because Flynn was so evil after having served his country for just about 3 decades. Clearly, that's evidence of being evil.
So they chose Flynn to get to Trump, but they chose him because they hated him anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, he has something else interesting. I told you about the January 5th meeting.
Yes.
One of the people who requested a unmasking of Flynn was Obama's chief of staff. And he did it on January 5th. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I would suspect it was done before the meeting to help Obama talk about it at the meeting. Because Sally Yates said that she found out about the Flynn phone call with Kislyak at that meeting. So this whole thing is starting to tie together.
It is. It's a soft coup.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Here's something else to make you feel a little weird. Okay. Biden asked for, what's his name to be unmasked, for Flynn to be unmasked.
Okay.
That was the same day that the Washington Post wrote the story about Flynn and Kislyak. Interesting?
Yes. Well, I also go back to, and I think Rick Grinnell released the full email today. Now, I have not seen it. I'll go.
No, he didn't. He released it, but they only let go release.
All right.
Which I've embedded, and that's something else to be worried about.
Okay.
By the way, I have a horrible bromance for Rick Grinnell now because he's been great.
Well, and for all the people that think that the Democrats love, say, the LGBT community, they don't. Rick Grinnell happens to be homosexual. Well, that really doesn't have anything to do with anything. Well, they should love him for it. No, they hate Rick Grinnell. They absolutely hate him to death. I also want to mention this, because this is going to come out. Susan Rice decided that she hated General Flynn. These are quotes now from transcripts. This is the convoluted gnashing that passes for thinking in a leftist's fetid, convoluted brain. These are quotes from the transcripts. General Flynn's focus was on China as our principal overarching adversary. He had many questions and concerns about China, and when I sought to elicit his perspective on Russia, well, he downplayed his assessment of Russia as a threat to the United States. He called it overblown. He said they're a declining power. They're demographically challenged. They're not really much of a threat. And then he reemphasized the importance of China. So she concludes this from that meager statement. I had seen enough at that point and heard enough to be a little bit sensitive to the question of the nature of General Flynn's engagements with the Russians. It has to be Russia, Russia, Russia. Although what General Flynn said about China is absolutely correct.
Speaking of China, tomorrow morning at 7:45, will be posted a story about the history of Biden's love affair with China. But we could talk about that another time, but go to my site then.
Okay.
However, if you look at this letter that the first page was released, it's so easy to conclude it was a cover your ass letter, okay? she kept saying how Obama said things had to be by the book.
Now, this is the Susan Rice letter, folks,
Right.
that Jeff Dunitz is referring to. This is the last letter / email that she sent, indicating for whatever reason, saying essentially, "Oh, we're doing everything right." You're
Not
leaving.
only did she send it to herself, but
leaving.
she did it on Inauguration Day, 15 minutes after Trump was sworn in. Like when she was cleaning out her office.
If that isn't CYA / self-serving, I don't know what is. Alaskan, are you there? Alaskan, are you there? Senor.
Yes, I am, sir. How are you?
There you go. What's up, Alaskan? This is Jeff Dunitz, and I am BZ. What up, sir?
Well, we're talking about General Flynn being unmasked and stuff.
Yes.
The other day, and I am searching frantically for this, I saw a op-ed by Andrew McCarthy.
Oh, great writer.
Yes, that says he does not believe that General Flynn was ever masked to begin with.
Really?
Yeah, well, that's what this thing
Yeah.
kind of shows.
Really?
Okay, because they were asking for unmasking before he had something to mask.
Well, and I'm looking for it as we speak, but to kind of paraphrase what he was talking about was that the FBI does not, and nothing for the Kasigliak intercept was done under FISA, which is the rules for the FBI. He says that the intercept had to have been done by one, either the CIA, who would be the agency that would be doing that anyway to begin with, and they don't mask people, and or one of our foreign intelligence counterparts, which do not come under FISA rules. So
I love Andrew McCarthy, and I actually read that.
Did
okay,
you
and
read
actually
that?
I even quoted part of that in my article. However, one thing, okay, this was a spy on Flynn thing and spy on Trump thing from the beginning.
Yes.
Because there was no phone call with Kislyak. See, what Andrew says is that that we were. This is quoting him. For 3 years, we've been led to believe that Flynn's December 29 conversation with Kislyak was intercepted because the latter was routinely monitored. That is, Kislyak was an overt agent of Russia stationed at the embassy in Washington, so the FBI kept tabs on him. Indeed, the routine surveillance storyline was repeated by the New York Times this week. What makes that scenario impossible is that they were requesting to get into Flynn before there was a phone call. So you're right, and Andrew's right. There was never unmasking. I'm just using the term, but making it worse is that they were spying on Flynn, and through Flynn, the Trump administration, before he ever spoke to Kislyak.
Bingo.
Yeah. Well, the Kasigliak intercept would not have been done by the FBI. That would, I'm sure that everything that goes in and out of the, any foreign embassy is monitored, but that would be monitored by the, the CIA or some other agency, but not the
You're
FBI.
100% correct. But there was no intercept.
And those intercepts do not fall under the FISA requirements or anything like that. Hence, masked to begin with, according to, what McCarthy is writing.
And I agree with him.
Yeah. So this unmasking story could be considered a false flag in there.
Yeah, because there was nothing to unmask.
It could be that, and it could be that after the Consigliac call, that they decided to tap everything that oh God, it just slipped my name. That the general was doing after that.
Now, let's tie that into to something else. The Susan Rice letter to herself, she says that Comey complained that Flynn had too many different conversations with Kislyak. There were two.
Well, apparently it's too many, damn it.
Yeah, well, but that's it. He didn't have too many. He had two. That's it.
Yeah.
So Comey was lying about it a long time before.
Well, and part of the job of what it is that he was supposed to do is to acquire a relationship and an understanding of the kind of environment that President Trump was going to be encountering. That was part and parcel of his job.
Especially since, as the Susan Rice letter said, they were told not to really discuss Russia with the Trump team.
Well, Flynn was pretty clearly more convinced that China was the overarching foe than Russia, since we definitely know without a doubt that's certainly true.
And you know what? And that's actually the way Trump feels and felt.
Well, Russia at this, the only thing that Russia has going for them is that Putin has made a billionaire out of himself. That's about the only thing that Russia has going for it.
And you know who helped him? Hillary.
Yes.
And last week there was a rumor that Brennan was holding back a document that showed that the Russians were really trying to get Hillary elected, not Trump.
Right. Well,
now whether or not that will be released, I don't know. But if it existed, then Rick Grinnell already gave it to Barr to look at, and maybe it won't be released until Durham is done.
Well, let's remember what James Clapper said when he was sworn in. This is not in public where he gets to say any damn thing he wants. This is where he has sworn to tell the truth about Russian collusion, but I do not recall any instance where I had direct evidence. Loretta Lynch, certainly the information that was given in that was concerning to me and indicated that there was a goal to have coordinated activity, but I don't recall anything being briefed to me at all. And then Sally Yates said essentially that I don't believe anybody had reached a conclusion yet as to whether there was a nefarious alliance with the Russians. We were just at the fact-gathering stage. And Mary McCord said, I can't recall if there was any information or evidence at the time that I felt about conspiring to take part in the actual intrusion. And McCabe said he was asked if he didn't know if Christopher Steele's dossier was true. He said, well, that's true. I don't know whether it was true or not. And Ben Rhodes said, I saw indications of potential coordination, but I did not see, the specific evidence of the actions of Trump collusion in the campaign. Samantha Power, I am not in possession of anything. I am not in possession and didn't read or absorb information that came from and out of the intelligence community. Susan Rice, I don't recall intelligence that I would consider evidence to that effect that I saw prior to my departure. They all said they saw no evidence.
Well, anybody who knew anything about Donald Trump knew the dossier was BS.
Yeah.
Because that thing about golden showers,
yeah,
the president is a germaphobe.
Of the highest order.
He's not going to let some stranger pee on him, okay?
Yeah. That's
I mean,
just...
just from that point of view, there's no way it's true. And what we did learn from the last Horowitz report was that the FBI knew it was bullshit.
Well, the FBI agents...
investigating
The FBI agents came out and said that they believed that the general was telling the truth, and yet Stroke decided that it was he who was going to push the investigation forward. When the FBI says with emphasis that, we're completely unbiased and apolitical, yeah, bullshit. One final article that I want to talk to you about, Jeff, before we get to the top of the hour. You wrote this yesterday also. House Democrats tell Supreme Court they're looking to impeach Trump again. What the hell is that all about, Jeff Dunitz?
Well, actually, they never stopped, okay? And the reason why they're suing to get a hold of, remember how like only 98% of the Mueller report was turned over?
Right.
Because of the grand jury stuff? They're suing for the other 2%. The grand jury information is not shareable.
No, you cannot, by law, share grand jury information.
And so, but what they said to the Supreme Court in terms of this suit is that they want it because there's an ongoing impeachment inquiry.
Because why should it stop?
What?
Because why should it stop? It's insanity.
They also mentioned that they want to investigate Barr's decision regarding Roger Stone and General Flynn. I got to tell you something. I can't wait to see that hearing because I've seen Barr testify before.
Oh, yes.
He will eviscerate Nadler to the point that his staple will fall out and Nadler will blow up and fly away like one of the balloons in Macy's Day Parade.
Yep. Absolutely incredible. Jeff, tell folks where you can be found, pretty please, with sugar on top.
Lidblog.com. And if you want to know about China and Biden, be there. That goes up at 7:45 in the morning. I'm also on Twitter at YidWithLid. I give you my Facebook address, but I'm in Facebook jail, so I don't do it much on it.
Yeah, I know. I just between you and me and the tree, I went over to MagaBook. I kicked a couple of other these. I kicked Snippy and Spreely and Foopy and Moopy and Bloopy to the curb, and now I went to MagaBook, and I would recommend it for all the other folks.
MagaBook. Okay,
MagaBook.
Can you send me the link later?
Sure, it's easy. Magabook.com, magabook.com, magabook.com. Easy. Easy peasy. Okay. Very similar to Facebook, social media site, laid out pretty well. Their app, I couldn't get their app working, but, that's me. I'm a techno-Luddite. Jeff Dunitz, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight.
Hey, thank you.
And Alaskan,
I'll talk to you during the week.
Alaskan, thanks for your phone call.
Take care, folks. Yeah, thanks for listening.
All righty. Thanks, folks. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back after this, and we're going to talk. Oh, my God. BZ has actual happy stories when we come back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right, we're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It is he that is me, bringing perspective from across the sea. Join me, Jack Alexander, 4 days a week for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the news and issues affecting life and liberty here in the USA. I'll show you what the mainstream media refuses to. Politics, border security, defense, healthcare, travel, nothing is off limits. Catch the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast each Monday to Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere good podcasts can be found. Also, check out the website, www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you bellows as host, and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific, on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the unpleasant blind guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense League radio show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for airtimes. It's the unpleasant blind guy.
On ADL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
You know, there I was talking to myself until I realized, I think you need to turn the microphone on. And I don't mean just in an excitational kind of fashion. So let's get going. This is the second hour, and you heard a great intro, a great music bed. Thanks to the composer for that. And what I was saying is, welcome to the second hour, and happy to see that. If you like the Second Amendment, and if you enjoy, if you're on Facebook, go to the Facebook group USGOA, U.S. Gun Owners Association. Great folks for the Second Amendment, First Amendment, and all the rest of the Bill of Rights. Here's a great, I need to tell you this. For the next couple of minutes or so, I'll notify you. There's a bit that I'm going to play that I found exceptionally funny, but probably from this point on, my guess would be for the rest of the show, you might want to not have kids in the room. That's called a clue. For the first one right now, though, this, and I want to remind everybody of this, because this, I think, is a great quintessential Trump ad.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Be giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 billion people dead here in the United States?
Yes.
No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't. We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again.
Together we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
If there is anybody that you think can bring this nation back together, and anybody that you think can put the economy back together, my guess would be, it's going to be that guy, President Trump. I said that the closer that you get to November, what's going to happen is you're going to see an assault. Well, obviously an all-out assault, and it will continue. It will not relent. Ever. They're going to try to trip you up with polls, folks, conservatives, Republicans, and independents. They're going to tell you that you don't need to go to the polls, the election booth, because Trump is so far behind that he'll never get ahead. Just don't show up. Or they'll tell you Trump is so far ahead, he's going to win so bigly, you don't need to go to the polls. The bottom line is, you need to go to the polls. But even absent all the craziness that we're seeing, there's another reason that you need to be very, very concerned. Dr. Robert Epstein testified in front of Ted Cruz. And you need to be reminded of this, the power of the left, which is why us, cannot afford ever to not go and vote ever again because of this massive, massive factor.
I understand your
it's
background.
Huge.
You're not a Republican, and nor are you a conservative. Is that accurate?
That would be an understatement.
And indeed, you're the former editor-in-chief of Psychology Today.
Correct.
So you're a respected academic. You testified before this committee that Google's manipulation of votes gave at least 2.6 million additional votes to Hillary Clinton in the year 2016. Is that
2.6 million additional votes to Hillary Clinton? What is that? Oh, that's the number by which she won the popular vote, meaning those votes should have gone to OMB.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I want to make sure I understand. You personally supported and voted for Hillary Clinton.
I was a very strong public supporter of Hillary Clinton, yes.
So you're not dismayed that people voted for her, but your testimony is that Google is, through bias in search results, manipulating voters in a way they're not aware of.
On a massive scale. And what I'm saying is that I believe in democracy, I believe in the free and fair election, more than I have any kind of allegiance to a candidate or a party.
And looking forward, if I understood your testimony correctly, you said in subsequent elections, Google and Facebook and Twitter and big text manipulation could manipulate as many as 15 million votes in a subsequent election?
In 2020, if all these companies are supporting the same candidate, there are 15 million votes on the line that can be shifted without people's knowledge and without leaving a paper trail for authorities to trace.
Now, you described the Go Vote reminder, and you said it wasn't a public service announcement, but rather manipulation.
Do you understand the power that social media has, that we've placed into one little geek, Zuckerberg, or into Jack Dorsey's hands?
Can you explain how? I'm not sure everyone followed the details of that.
Well, sure. If on Election Day in 2016, if Mark Zuckerberg, for example, had chosen to send out a Go Vote reminder, say just to Democrats, and no one would have known if he had done this, that would have given that day an additional at least 450,000 votes to Democrats. And we know this without doubt because of Facebook's own published data, because they did an experiment that they didn't tell anyone about during the 2010 election. They published it in 2012. It had 60 million Facebook users involved. They sent out a Go Vote reminder, and they got something like 360,000 more people to get off their sofas and go vote who otherwise would have stayed home. The point is, I don't think that Mr. Zuckerberg sent out that reminder in 2016. I think he was overconfident. I think Google was overconfident.
Do you think Facebook will hesitate in the slightest to do that in November, September, October, November? Twitter, Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Do you think any of them will hesitate in the slightest to skew the numbers?
All these companies were. I don't think he sent that out. Without monitoring systems in place, we'll never know what these companies are doing. But the point is, in 2018, I'm sure they were more aggressive. We have lots of data to support that. And in 2020, you can bet that all of these companies are going to go all out. And the methods that they're using are invisible. They're subliminal. They're more powerful than most any effects I've ever seen in the behavioral sciences, and I've been in the behavioral sciences for almost 40 years.
You know, our Democratic colleagues on this committee often talk about what they view as the pernicious effect of big money and big corporate dollars. what you are testifying to is that a handful of Silicon Valley billionaires and giant corporations are able to spend millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars collectively, massively influencing the results of elections. And there's no accountability. You said, we don't know. We have no way of knowing if Google or Facebook or Twitter sends it to Democrats or Republicans, or how they bias it, because it's a black box with no transparency or accountability whatsoever.
How would you ever know? I ask you this question. How would you ever know? Let's say you even had a subpoena for Facebook. Let's just use Facebook as an example. To proffer information or documents. Well, number one, you're not going to get a document. They're not going to be silly, stupid, or fattening enough to provide you with any kind of a document indicating that this is exactly what they did, unless somebody was silly, stupid, or fattening enough to record an actual one-on-one meeting between, say, Zucky and somebody else. And you can be guaranteed that he checks he has his office swept, home swept, any place he goes swept at least every day, perhaps a couple of times a day, so that he knows what he's doing. Do you think there's any way humanly possible in the land of ones and zeros to come up with a definite way, absent direct testimony from an individual, that you could prove that this is what he's doing? It's a digital world, people.
Am I understanding you correctly?
Senator, with respect, I must correct you.
Please.
If Mark Zuckerberg chooses to send out a go vote reminder just to Democrats on Election Day, that doesn't cost him a dime.
Fair enough.
Digital.
Do you happen to know who the Hillary Clinton campaign's number one financial supporter was in the year 2016?
I think I do, but please remind me.
The number one financial supporter of the Hillary Clinton campaign in the 2016 election was the parent company of Google, Alphabet, who was our first witness. They were her number one financial donor, and your testimony is, through their deceptive search methods, they moved 2.6 million votes in her direction. I would think anybody, whether or not you favor one candidate or another, should be deeply dismayed about a handful of Silicon Valley billionaires having that much power over our elections to silently and deceptively shift vote outcomes.
Stop just for a second. Ask yourself this very important question. What is like an actor, what is the motivation for any social media, Zuckerberg, Dorsey, Facebook, Twitter, to tell anyone the truth in any form of say a Senate hearing like this guy is? He's in the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee. This was, let's see, when was this? August 9th of last year, when Dr. Robert Epstein was testifying. Do you think you're ever going to get the truth out of them? No, because they know one very important salient fact. You have to prove they're lying, and they know you can't prove it.
Again, with respect, I must correct you. The 2.6 million is a rock bottom minimum. The range is between 2.6 and 10.4 million, depending on how aggressively they used the techniques that I've been studying now for 6.5 years.
Wow. Could you just say that again, please?
Yeah, listen.
The 2.6 million is a rock bottom minimum. The range is between 2.6 and 10.4 million votes, depending on how aggressive they were in using the techniques that I've been studying, such as the search engine manipulation effect, the search suggestion effect, the answer bot effect, and a number of others. They control these, and no one can counteract them. These are not competitive. These are tools that they have at their disposal exclusively.
If any headline comes out of this hearing, that should be it.
I will continue to play that because it is critically important in 2020. Welcome to Claudia Cheek in Facebook chat. Also, Jack in Facebook chat. And also to Jeremy Unleashed Nation. Jeremy Hansen in chat. Now, I told you at the top of the hour, put the kids away. Because when I first heard this, well, I guess I can get away with it because it's Canadian and it's French. Everybody knows Canadians don't have a sense of humor. Or do they?
My partner, we should not fight. To argue is no way to go through the life. Do you know the key to life?
What's that?
The key to life is a penis in your asshole.
I beg your pardon, sir. I think you must be saying...
These are some Mounties on a traffic stop. And Americans, this is in Canada.
Saying that wrong.
No. The key to life,
is
a penis in your asshole.
I don't think you're saying what you mean to say.
Oh, oui. A penis, you know, to smile, to be happy.
Oh, happiness. Honey, it's... Okay.
In your asshole. No, your asshole, where you live, your appartement, your domicile.
Your house.
Household.
Ah!
The key to life is happiness in your household.
Oui, the key to life is a penis in your asshole.
I'm trying to tell her that.
What do you think I say?
Oh.
What did you think I said? Oh. Why didn't I go there? This is the first time I've done this in, I think a couple of weeks at least. Stand by. I hope you're sitting down.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
We're going to rip through a lot of these. Here's one from Mediaite. Actually from CNN. Shock CNN poll. Trump leads Biden by 7 points in the battleground states despite trailing by 5 overall. That was just a couple of days ago on the 13th. A new poll shows former VP Joe Biden and President Donald Trump in a standoff over their national support and their momentum in battleground states. This was a CNN study. Hey, Boyd, welcome to Facebook. A CNN study conducted by SRSS found that 51% of national registered voters back Biden, while 46% are behind Trump. This is a 2% drop for Biden. It's May. Since the poll had him at 53% in April, while the president has jumped up 4% from his previous rating of 42%. Then we made reference to this. Here's another happy story. This just happened a day or so ago. Feds and you... Oh, boy. How do I tell you this? I knew this was occurring a number of years ago. I'll bet a bunch of you already understood this. I live in California, always spell it with a K. I have occasional reasons to go to Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is not necessarily an incorporated city. It's an area around San Jose, etc. But they kind of call it Silicon Valley. It's all encompassing. When I went there about 5 or 6 years ago, I went to, I admit it, a UFO convention. And I saw George Norrie and a whole bunch of other people. Right next to the same convention center was a tech conference. And in that tech conference, one of the first things that I noted is that most everyone in there, with some exceptions, the people holding it were of a number of ethnicities, but the people that were attending were predominantly Chinese, and I distinctly know the difference between when I'm listening to Chinese as opposed to Japanese. And I'm telling you, the bulk of people in Silicon Valley that were attending this conference that I was hearing on breaks, because during the conference, and I walked around to listen and peeked in the door and listened, are speaking in English on the stage, but the people that are talking to themselves on the breaks outside are speaking Chinese, Cantonese, Mandarin, etc. So here's an article, Feds Arrest Professor, and the reason I said that is because this is a pandemic in and of itself. Feds arrest professor for allegedly hiding funding from communist China. Another professor pleads guilty to a similar charge. China is stealing us blind. China is the enemy of the United States. China is the enemy of the entire planet. Federal law enforcement officials arrested a professor at the University of Arkansas. Well, folks, you know there's Kansas, then there's Arkansas. This was in Arkansas. For allegedly concealing his involvement in a program that the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, used to steal intellectual property from U.S. institutions. And as we all know, China has made it a priority to steal whatever it is that we're working on in terms of attempting to identify and then create a vaccine. China is hacking like they've never hacked before. Simon Ang of the University of Arkansas was arrested on Friday and charged on Monday with wire fraud, the New York Times reported. He worked for and received funding from Chinese companies and from the 1,000 Talents program, which awards grants to scientists to encourage relationships with the Chinese government. And he warned an associate to keep his affiliation with the program quiet. Oh, by the way, if convicted, Ang faces up to 20 years in prison. And then there was this. Also on Friday, Dr. Zhao Li, a former professor of Emory University of Atlanta, pleaded guilty to a felony charge of filing a false tax return that omitted, well, now the IRS gets pissed at you and me if we omit, I don't know, a couple $100. His tax return, he just forgot about that $500,000 that he received from the 1,000 Talents program. He was sentenced to a year of probation. Ooh, that's harsh. And ordered to pay $35,089 in restitution. I'm surprised there wasn't like 25 cents in there as well. This was recorded at least a couple of weeks ago, but I think it's funny as fuck. Because this is where the word schadenfreude steps in from the wings right now. Iran hits its own warship with a missile, killing 19. Now that's a happy story. Let's see, when did this happen? This is from, American Military News. At least 19 Iranian Navy personnel are dead and 15 more injured after the warship Konarak was struck by Iran's own missile near Jask port in southern Iran last month. Iran's official Islamic Republic news agency confirmed the 19 deaths and 15 injuries in a report. Couldn't happen to a nicer country. Then this came out from the Supreme Court. A wonderful thing. Oh, and the 200 district judges that Donald Trump was able to install on various benches across the country, keeping one of his major campaign promises. I love it when campaign promises are going well and he's keeping them. This from the Supreme Court. Encouraging illegal aliens to remain in the U.S. is a crime, Supreme Court rules. I happen to think that's a really happy story. The Supreme Court unanimously upheld a federal statute that forbids encouraging illegal aliens to remain in the U.S. unlawfully in a decision Thursday. The Supreme Court justices voided an earlier decision by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which had ruled that a federal anti-harboring statute was unconstitutional. So this ruling by the Supreme Court upholds that law. The Supreme Court not only vacated the appeal court decision, but, and you almost never do this in a federal judge venue, but they also criticized, you don't do this. The Supreme Court criticized the judges for drastically straying from judicial norms. I really hope you're sitting down now before we go to the break. This is a critical sentence. Judge Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is a massive leftist sitting on the bench, she wrote the High Court's opinion. The appeals panel departed so drastically from the principle of party presentation as to constitute an abuse of discretion, Ginsburg wrote, and said a court is not hidebound by the precise arguments of counsel But the Ninth Circuit's radical transformation of this case goes well beyond the pale. So what kind of a decision was this, by the way? And who voted? Huh? Really? Am I reading this correct? I must... This can't be right. This was a unanimous decision.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right, we're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It is he that is me, bringing perspective from across the sea. Join me, Jack Alexander, 4 days a week for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the news and issues affecting life and liberty here in the USA. I'll show you what the mainstream media refuses to. Politics, border security, defense, healthcare, travel, nothing is off limits. Catch the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast each Monday to Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere good podcasts can be found. Also, check out the website, www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you bellows as host, and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific, on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense League radio show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for airtimes. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On ADL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am back. It is the final 25. The final 25 minutes of the show, and already I can see I'm not going to be able to get a fraction of the stuff that I wanted to talk about tonight in, so it's going to have to get pushed over to Thursday night. Thanks to everybody in chat looking at Facebook. Thanks to Claudia. Thanks to Betty for being in chat. Thanks to Marcia. These are all new folks. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And thanks to Jeremy, because I bet you Jeremy had a whole bunch of stuff to do with this. So Jeremy Hansen, thank you very much. What was I doing? Oh, that's right. I was, let's see. I was talking about...
It's time for happy stories and good times.
I was talking about a Supreme Court decision. Then there's this. Wonder why nobody's talking about illegals on the border anymore. Ken Cuccinelli says 8 in 10 border crossers are being deported within 2 hours. That to me sounds like a happy story. Acting Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Deputy Secretary Ken Cuccinelli says border crossers are being almost immediately returned to Mexico after crossing into the United States, winning one for the United States as well. Oh, that reminds me, this Thursday, somebody in chat, might have been Betty, was saying, hey, what about all these funny doctors? I'm going to be playing some videos which have turned out not to be videos anymore because they got eliminated, but I converted them to audio files because these days you have to, because this stuff got taken down so frequently. I'm going to have a lot of doctors talking and telling you the truth about what's actually going on with the coronavirus. Here's another happy story. Trump announces executive order aiming to make hundreds of deregulations permanent amidst the coronavirus. So he announced today, well, if you're on the East Coast, it's tomorrow. He announced today an executive order, Tuesday, aiming to make hundreds of deregulations in the age of the coronavirus permanent. Something that would basically amount to a massive overhaul of regulatory policy. As far as I'm concerned, eliminating red tape, big plus for the United States. Now, here's another thing that people determined was a bad thing. But because part of my job was to interpret what attorneys were telling me over the years, is this. Do you remember when Barr came out 2 days ago and said, as to President, because you have to watch and listen very carefully to what attorneys say. And people took this to be a negative thing. Catherine Herridge reported on this. She said, Attorney General Barr said, this is a quote, as to President Obama and Vice President Biden, whatever their level of involvement, based on the information I have today, I don't expect Mr. Durham's work will lead to a criminal investigation of either man. Our concern is focused on others. Stop. What are the two operative words in that sentence from Barr? And I point this out because I have had this happen to me, where attorneys will fall back on a phrase or a couple of words in what they've written or said turns out to be fundamentally true. I want to point out this to you so that this is not a crash and it's not the end of the world. What are the two operative words? Three operative words, actually. As to President Obama and VP Biden, whatever their level of involvement, based on the information I have today. That's not tomorrow. That's not next week. That's not the rest of this month. Here's another happy story. Remember what I said about that today, tonight. Remember what I said about that. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, incontinentia buttocks. In this case, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Georgia reopening is not as bad as I thought. Here's another happy story. This is from Fox News. Democrat-imposed coronavirus orders are facing lawsuits all across the nation. Wait, if I had a producer, this is what you heard. Democrat coronavirus orders are facing lawsuits all across the nation. Or maybe you would have heard, or occasionally, yeah, what about... I kind of like that one. That's ominous. Here we go. Pushback. I call that pushback, and it's a wonderful thing. Then, folks, you know that I am still an oath keeper. I took an oath. I was 41 years a law enforcement officer. My oath is as important to me today as it was then. And when I find information or when I find statements from law enforcement officers like this person who reflect my viewpoint in terms of upholding the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, then I have to play it. This is from a gentleman. He's from Ohio. I have not been able to identify his department, but he is rank. In Ohio, they have the rank of colonel. This is a colonel, and listen to what he says about law enforcement.
I solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio, and the laws and ordinances of the political subdivision to which I am appointed, and to the best of my ability will discharge the duties of this office. This is the oath sworn by every law enforcement officer here in the state of Ohio, and it's similar to the oath sworn by every law enforcement officer everywhere in the country. I've taken this oath many times as I've moved from department to department during my career, and also as I've been promoted to higher positions within those departments. The first time I took such an oath was as an 18-year-old enlistee in the United States Marine Corps. And an interesting thing that I've noticed each time that I've taken this oath, or an oath similar to this, is that they don't come with an expiration date.
Bingo.
The oath that I swore as an 18-year-old, I believe, is still as valid today as it was the day that I recited those words. There is a slight difference in the oath taken by members of the military as opposed to the oath that's sworn by law enforcement officers here in Ohio. The military oath says to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. To support the Constitution properly, there's no way you can do that without defending it as well. So I don't see the lack of that verbiage in the law enforcement oath as being really different from the military oath. We all swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. So why am I talking about the oath that we take? It's because I would like to focus in on the very first few words of that oath, because they are virtually all the same. That I solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States of America. That is the entire Constitution, not just portions of it, to include the first 10 amendments, which of course we know as the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights guarantees most of the freedoms that we enjoy as American citizens. The right to assemble, the right to free speech, the right to practice our religion. And the reason I'm talking about all of this is because I'm becoming troubled because of things that I'm seeing in the news lately.
As well
where
you
I feel
should
like
be.
Many of our basic freedoms are being infringed, if not outright denied.
Kaiser, welcome.
Many times people are looking to the police to enforce these policies that are being presented, and I want to point out to everyone that our oath to the citizens we serve is to protect their constitutional rights. That is our first and foremost duty, which is why that language is the very first thing in our oath.
Don't you wish all law enforcement officers, and I don't count anymore, don't you wish all law enforcement officers were like this? It's sad they aren't.
It comes before enforcing the law. It comes before discharging duties. Our very first duty is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So by implication, it is to defend the rights of the citizens we're sworn to protect and defend. Again, I'm pointing this all out because we don't have to look very far into history to see where ill-conceived notions by the political powers that be at any time in the past looked to the police, or I should say those policymakers looked to the police to enforce those ill-conceived policies. And again, we don't have to look very hard to see the disastrous consequences that came as a result of some of those enforcement actions. None of us asked for this current situation. It was thrust upon us. And I know there are times that we are out there and there's a question about how we should proceed with regard to a certain situation. My advice to you is always default to your oath. It will show you the way.
Thank you.
Your oath will guide you to defending and protecting the rights of your citizens. And there's really nothing anyone can say about defaulting to your oath. That is your responsibility, is your sworn duty as a police officer to defend the rights of the citizens in your community. Again, there may be times that you're dealing with those situations that are difficult to sort out. You may have dueling political interests that are trying to direct you one way or another, but my advice to you is always default to your oath, always support and defend the constitutional rights of the citizens you're sworn to protect. Thank you all, and may God bless you and keep you safe.
I wish there were 100,000 guys like that instead of the officers that went back and shut down a gym today because a guy deigned to open it up, was already set up properly to keep people safe, social distanced, clean, with masks, so people could go back to normal life. And of course, officers went over there. The first set of officers said all was well. The second set, not so much. Oh, I'm sorry, that was in another venue. Oh, and I forgot to tell you this. I hadn't planned on mentioning this today. I'll go ahead and do it because this is now an issue. I'm broadcasting right now behind enemy lines in occupied California. Always spell it with a K. I am in Sacramento. I literally am 2 miles east of the Bill Mill in Sacramento, which is the Capitol building at 10th and L Street. One of my former deputy sheriff pals in the Sacramento Sheriff's Department became chief of a town up Highway 50, kind of in the foothills, called Placerville. Placerville, east of Sacramento, happens to be up in the foothill area, and so predominantly is the county there surrounding Placerville, El Dorado County. The El Dorado County Sheriff decided that he was not going to do anything about violations of social distancing, people having businesses open, etc. The chief of police of the city of Placerville, whose name is Jim Ortega, who is a former deputy sheriff for the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, was installed as chief of police. I believe he'd only been there about 2 years. Now he's been let go. It's not official. It hasn't been published, but one of the primary reasons that he was let go, and to again distinguish between a city police department and a sheriff's department in how law enforcement is enforced and crafted, Chief Ortega was let go. He decided that he was going to do essentially the same thing for the city of Placerville. The city of Placerville City Council is comprised of leftists. However, he serves at the whim of them, and he was let go. And that is what law enforcement is facing all throughout the United States right now. Unfortunately, it's pretty clear I'm not going to get to what I wanted to about California. I'm probably going to have to do that on Thursday night. So Thursday night, I'm going to have a whole bunch of videos about the truth involving the coronavirus, why it's the truth. Do I have enough time for this video? Oh, yes, this is a 2-minute video. I just discovered this. Here is a chief of police in Houston. This is heretical. Houston leans left. Here is a chief of police in Houston who's finally had it with leftists in his city. And after this, I'm going to come to a video that I discovered, and I'm going to play it for you with regard to the meat shortages that was eliminated by Facebook. I have it. You'll hear it after this. This is Chief Acevedo from Houston Police Department. He's had enough.
Don't get to choose and pick what they go to. A man with a gun on Scott Street that you all heard. Again, our
Okay, Chief, here we go.
Don't get to choose and pick what they go to. A man with a gun on Scott Street that you all heard. Again, our community calling us because there's a guy with a gun on Scott Street. A man with a knife at the fiesta going after our community. We're responding to our community. But let me just say this. We've had nearly a 50% increase in murders in this city this year. That's not cops, 50% increase. 100 and something people have been murdered in our city in some very violent crimes. And for those that want to focus just on officer-involved shootings, I say you need to start focusing on what's going on in our city. Over 100 people have been murdered in our city. I don't remember the exact number as of today. Do we have a number? So that's 125 murders with this little old lady. And so where's the outrage for that? Where's the outrage when we are chasing the same crooks out here? Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage when our cops are putting their lives on the line, arresting the same person time and again who's got a violent history? So don't come and talk to me about officer-involved shootings when nobody's putting the mic in the hands of the judges that keep letting these crooks out time and again.
Exactly.
Where's the outrage? Why is it it's the police chief and the police department that's talking about these judges? And you know what they want me to do? They want me to go away. Well, I got news for them. I'm not going away. And they're not going to shut me up.
Excellent.
And we will start putting out when a guy on 8 felony bonds is out carjacking people. Where's the outrage? Where? I'll tell you where. Directed at the wrong things. We've got to pay attention because people are dying. The violence is creeping up and being committed by people that are in and out of jail, right? In one door, out the other. And guess what? Sooner or later, guess what? That violence is not just going to impact these officers, it's going to impact the community. There should be some outrage.
So I got a question for you folks. What do you think the half-life of this chief's job is going to be for having gone out in the open and spoken overtly about that? How long do you think he's going to keep his job? A day? 2 days? Anything like that? You got to wonder. You really don't know. I would wager to say that he may not, Chief Acevedo, may not be long for this planet. Here's another happy story. College students, I was shocked when I heard and saw this. College students call for closing Confucius Institutes across America. Bipartisan groups of college students across America have joined forces with nonprofits, human rights organizations, and leaders of the youth organizations of both Democrats and Republicans to call for the closing of Confucius Institutes on college campuses across America. Basically, Confucius Institutes are nothing more than areas where the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, can infiltrate in the United States of America. God, there's so much stuff that I want to tell you about California, and I'm running out of time to be able to do that tonight. Let me get to the one that probably is one of the most important. Don't you have to ask yourself, why is it that leftist Democrats and mayors want and are so insistent about keeping you imprisoned in your house? One of them is to make sure, guaranteed, that if they can get away with pushing it, and hey, Los Angeles County now wants you to stay inside until, July, after the 4th of July. And then there becomes a reason. They're hoping that when all these businesses, when people are opened up, that the coronavirus pandemic will explode once again, so that they can shut down voting and insist that you only vote by mail. That's one motivation. The other one is money. Newsom is in California. The governor of California is beside himself. He wants more money. So is Governor Cuomo in New York. They're all running massive budget deficits because they don't know when, or I think how, to stop spending. So just recently, Governor Newsom here in California, always spelled it with a K, has said that the federal government, your tax dollars in Minnesota, your tax dollars in Ohio, your tax dollars in New York, your tax dollars in Florida, every other state. The federal government, meaning all of your tax dollars, the federal government has a moral and ethical obligation to financially support the states. Do you think he's talking about all the states? No. He's talking about himself. He needs a bailout. And he needs a bailout today. He needs a bailout immediately. And folks, I have to tell you right now, don't you do it. Stop. Don't even remotely think about bailing out California. Always spell it with a K. Thanks for being here tonight.
Monsieur!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. And promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refilling team, with whom I will be concerting in less than an hour. Thanks to Jeff Dunitz for being here. It would appear that I'm having a really well-known, not well-known on this show, Black Conservative coming Thursday night, Randy Perham. You need to be here this Thursday night. Thanks to everybody for being in Facebook chat. Thanks to everybody for being in SHR Media chat. Thanks for listening live. Thanks for listening in podcast. Got a ton of hits in podcast. Thanks to Jeremy Henson for promoting the heck out of the show. Folks, I'll be back Thursday night. All of you, God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.